Incredible adventure in the middle of the Amazon. Even when traveling around the world with nothing more than a bag can sound great for those people loving the adventure, sometimes trips can turn into troubles. Maybe a lot of us think that knowing the world is not just a way of having fun, but also an interesting manner of getting in contact with new people and new cultures as well. However, we need to take into consideration that plans can end up by turning out in an unexpected way. So we have to get prepared for anything if we want to jump into the adventure. Something like this happened to Yosef Ginsburg, or Yossi, a young adventurer born in 1959 in Tel Aviv. Even when having joined the Israeli army and been trained to survive, he had no idea that he would face a life-or-death situation on one of these travels. His survival skills were tested when he got lost in this journey. While Yossi was a part of the Navy sector, he really enjoyed being able to travel around frequently. Soon enough, he became stronger and leaner. Besides that, he also managed to earn a decent amount of money. This way, he got interested in knowing the world and, inspired by Henri Charri's book, Papillon, he took the decision of visiting Venezuela. In his autobiography, Charri tells the story of how he got wrongfully condemned because of a murder in France. He was kept prisoner in French Guiana, and eventually he ran away to Venezuela. The natural beauties described in that story encouraged Yossi to get embarked on a new adventure. As soon as he arrived in Venezuela, he met a guy named Marcus Stam, who was a teacher from Switzerland. They quickly became friends and wanted to continue exploring South America together. So they immediately headed over to La Paz, Bolivia. Nevertheless, they realized they needed to go even further, so they thought of making a hiking trip through the Amazon. But they would not be alone. While planning out their trip, they came across another explorer, Kevin Gale, an American wildlife photographer who wanted to take photos of the Amazon. And if that were not too far enough, the Austrian geologist Karl Rupprecher joined them too. This last claimed he was looking for a gold quarry, and the other men trusted him and followed him into the jungle. The journey started in the small village of Asariamus. The town received the explorers with an incredible kindness. Locals opened not just their doors, but also their arms to them. However, the natives also gave the men a firm warning about the jungle and how dangerous it could be. But the four men didn't take that warning very seriously. After all, inhabitants ended up by realizing that four healthy men could take on whatever the jungle tried to throw their way. Then, the four-man team made their way into the jungle. Nonetheless, shortly after the trip began, the Swiss teacher Marcus Stam began to develop trench foot. Despite all the efforts to heal his foot, it just got worse and worse. The infection quickly spread out through his leg. Soon, he was in so much pain that he was slowing down the entire group. The men quickly ran out of food, but they had a shotgun for hunting. However, the only animals that they saw around them were monkeys, and they didn't want to shoot one. Eventually, having no more options, they grilled their first monkey. Marcus, however, a victim of pain, refused to eat it. The time came when Marcus could no longer walk, so his companions built a raft to carry him sailing across the Tucci River. The idea turned out great for everyone except Karl, who claimed he couldn't swim. So the Austrian decided to take the injured Marcus to the nearest town. Yossi and Kevin, meanwhile, continued to travel across the river. However, a strong current of water would catch up with them, destroying the boat they had built out of natural materials provided by the jungle. Kevin was lucky and managed to reach one of the riverbanks, but Yossi did not meet the same fate. Yossi was swept away by the current, which resulted in a terrible head injury. As the waters covered him and blood flowed from his head, painting the river red, he tried his best not to drown. Fortunately, he managed to get hold of one of the banks. Although the threat had passed, he realized that he was wounded and all alone in the middle of the jungle. Victim of despair, Yossi felt that his life was falling apart. However, he realized that his backpack had managed to resist the current. He felt much better knowing that all his supplies were in it. In addition, there was also a special survival book that his grandfather had used during the Holocaust. From then on, Yossi's journey was marked by uncertainty and hardship. He managed to escape several times from the wild beasts that pursued him. Tired as he was, he did not realize that he was sleeping on a nest of termites that would leave strong bites on his skin. After a week, he had nothing but animal eggs, wild fruits, and dead monkeys to eat. There were many dangerous situations that Yossi faced. He encountered a leopard and caught an infection in his foot. When he thought he could give no more, he saw a small boat on the waters of the river. In it was Kevin Gale, along with a Bolivian fisherman named Tico Tudela. Yossi could not believe his eyes. Kevin had reached civilization 3 days after being swept away by the current. He immediately called for help and went in search of Yossi. When they found him, they immediately took him to a hospital to treat all his injuries. After 3 months, Yossi regained his weight and his wounds healed completely. No one could believe what he had been through in the jungle. It's amazing that he survived, everyone said. Later, Yossi would visit Bolivia again. The locals welcomed him with open arms. While there, he built an eco-lodge for the indigenous people. He also worked to protect the intellectual property of the local people. In addition, he is the author of several books, including an autobiography entitled Back from Tucci, the harrowing story of survival in the Amazon rainforest. He has continued to travel the world and give inspirational speeches on survival and how to make the best of a bad situation.